Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen. Podcasting since 2005. You're listening to Gamertag Radio. With your host, podcaster Hall of Famer Danny Pena, the always opinionated Paris Lilly, and from outside of the norm, Peter Toledo. This is Gamertag Radio.
Here we go.
Welcome to Gamertag Radio, episode 601. I'm Paris, and I'm here with Pete.
What is up?
No Danny this week. He got sick, so he had to cancel right before we started recording. So Danny, get better, but hey, show must go on. So with that said, make sure you check us out over at gamertagradio.com. You can obviously find us over at play.it. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/gamertagradio. You can also find us on Twitter at gamertagradio.
Send us your feedback or questions. Give us a call at 786-273-7GTR. Email us at fanmail@gamertagradio.com or leave a message on speakpipe.com/gamertagradio.
So, start the show. We're going to get into some NX talk. Pete's gonna have a review for us. We're going to do Destiny Talk Radio, obviously, and then we'll end the show with fan mail. But before we do that, I literally just watched a video from Digital Foundry. It looks like they went to EGX this week, and they had more hands-on time with the PlayStation 4 Pro. And it's interesting because they came away overall positive about it. They're definitely saying whatever techniques they're doing under the hood is an advancement over what we've seen recently with the 900p going to 1080p, with what they're going to plan, what Sony's obviously going to do here, rendering to get up to 4K. You're saying at normal viewing distances, looks fantastic. Definitely looks like 4K. You can't really tell the difference. But if you get closer and you're watching the game in motion, you can definitely see the resolution is a little bit lower than what true 4K should be. So it's going to be very, and the game they were looking at they were looking at Call of Duty, Infinite Warfare, and I guess the Modern Warfare remaster, and what Activision is doing, getting that up to 4K. So it's going to be interesting in November when these games start coming out and what people's opinions going to be. Is this good enough in 4K, or do we truly need to wait on the Scorpio? I'm talking on the console side, obviously. Wait on the Scorpio when that comes out next year, because they also talked about the Scorpio a little bit in the fact that, yeah, Microsoft saying it, Albert Pinello, because he's been very vocal here in the last couple of weeks, that it's doing native 4K. And even from that initial reveal video, it looks like it's probably going to want to have in 12 gigs of memory in it versus what we currently have right now on PlayStation, which is doing 8. And also what is their bandwidth going up to? 384, something like that. But the point, the point is, Microsoft delivers on what they're saying. Them being able to hit native 4K is not going to be an issue for their games. Whereas obviously Sony with this PlayStation 4 Pro, they're doing a lot of tricks under the hood. So it's really going to come down to what your wallet says, first of all, because we know the Pro is going to be $400. And I know Danny wants to dream and all that. And basically Phil Spencer is going to come to your house and just hand you a Scorpio and just take the hit.
You might take the one. You might be the one that gets that instead of Danny, though.
Guys, let me dream. Yes, let me dream.
I have a dream.
Let me dream.
We'll see. Well, hey, look, I told you, until they announce it, I refuse to believe it's going to be anything under 450. But we'll see next year. But back to the point of Digital Foundry, guys. So they talked about PlayStation 4 Pro, and then they also got some hands-on time with Gears of War 4 on the PC, and they were very impressed by that. It was running on a 1080 GPU. I guess the frame rate was between 30 and 45 on what they were looking at, but it was definitely native 4K, and there's about 4 pages of PC options that you can tweak. So this is not just, hey, we made it on the console and we'll just throw you guys a port on the PC. I mean, I even know the Coalition has talked about this here in the last week or so. they had a dedicated team for the PC version of Gears 4, and I guess it really shows. Trust me, I'm hyped. I cannot wait to get my hands on this game, especially after playing Forza Horizon 3 on the PC and just how impressed I've been with that so far. The fact that Gears Coalition's going a step further than what Turn 10 did or Playground Games did with Forza Horizon 3 on the PC, it's sounding like this is going to be Microsoft's showcase PC game this year going into 2017. And the fact that if you go buy a 1070 or a 1080 GPU right now, they're going to give you Gears 4. Microsoft is obviously very confident in this game, and they want to get it in people's hands on the PC, and they want to showcase what they're trying to do with Xbox Anywhere. I've been tweeting, here in the last week or so, just that I'm very impressed with the implementation of Forza Horizon 3 on Xbox Anywhere. And this is just the second game on there. Recore was the first, and Gears 4 obviously is the one that they're definitely going to market and hype here going into the holiday. So I'm excited. Can't wait to get my hands on it. Really looking forward to it. So, Pete, anything you want to add to that?
One thing, I don't know if a lot of people have been talking about, but are we going to have the split screen co-op on Gears 4? Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, they're going to do it on PC.
Ooh.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
It's something that's been missing for a long time in not just console gaming, just with a game like Gears of War. It really does lend to that split screen experience, something that was missing in Halo, when I think we all dogged it pretty hard for them taking it out. And the fact that they recognized that and they said, we're just going to let that, we're going to keep that in. That says a lot. It says a lot. I'm starting. I think I might be jumping on that bandwagon pretty soon for the Gears stuff, and it's going to be interesting. I can't wait.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be fun. And I've been a little skeptical of what the story is going to be, but I'm also intrigued by it because I really want to see the direction that they're going to. But I think as far as just the co-op gameplay and obviously horde mode and then the multiplayer stuff, I mean, the pedigree's there with the guys that they got over at the Coalition because, they pulled in a lot of people from the past to work on this game. Right. So, dude, this could be, we won't always talk about that game. This could be that game for the Xbox One S. You know what I mean? And look, we already know that this is, and I'm doing air quotes here, Scorpio compatible, because everything that they're doing on the PC is going to translate right over to what they do on the Scorpio next year. So this will be a game that you'll seamlessly be able to play right now, and then a year from now you'll be able to just basically move it on to the Scorpio, and it's going to have all the 4K bells and whistles, and I'm assuming HDR as well. That's one thing that Digital Foundry, when they were talking to whoever was there at the event, repping the game, they asked about HDR on the PC, and they had no comment. Like Forza Horizon 3 does not do HDR on the PC, so the fact that they're not openly talking about it, I'm assuming it's not doing HDR on Gears 4 as well for the PC, but hopefully there'll be a post-launch patch or something like that, and they'll get it implemented. So we'll see. We'll see moving forward, because like I said, I'm on the monitor that I play my games right now. It does 4K, but it doesn't do HDR, but I plan on upgrading that here during the holiday. So I hope it does HDR, because I for sure want to play it. If not, I mean, really, I think Infinite Warfare is doing HDR, I think, on the Pro. I can't remember exactly, but I know Horizon, when that comes out in February, will be doing HDR. So we'll see. We'll see here. I guess in the next few months, I'll definitely be able to start experiencing HDR gaming, be it on the Pro or on the PC. So any last things on that before we move on?
Well, I would imagine it would do the HDR, simply because that was one of the big things that Sony talked about during the technical showcase, was that it would be pushing HDR now. Whether the game actually takes advantage of it, obviously that's up to the developers and the publishers to decide whether that's going to be something they include. But yeah, I think from a hardware perspective, it is.
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, I assume they would. But I just thought about this. So Respawn came out and they released their specs for Titanfall 2 on the PC. And Pete, I don't know about you, I just looked at my 1080 and I just started smiling, because the recommended specs that they had for 4K 60 for Titanfall 2 was literally my PC. that made me so happy to see. So I'm excited for that, which that's another game we know it's going to be PlayStation 4 Pro ready. So like you just finished saying, I would assume it's also going to do HDR on the Pro.
Actually, correction. That's the Ultra 4K 60 setting. If you want recommended, it just means minimum was it?
No, that's why I said
1060 or an RX 480. But for the Ultra 4K 60 frames per second experience, yeah, essentially that's our PC. And and I've got 512 kbps. I'm good on the internet connection.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I know, right? Yeah, so I'm excited, man. So I can't wait till we get closer to launch. We get some more information on Titanfall. So hopefully we'll get to talk to Respawn again before launch. But anything else before we move on?
No, I think we're itching to talk about the stuff that we have coming up. So let's just
So Nintendo. Again, our little birdie over at Foxconn, who seems to have been leaking all this stuff over the summer with PlayStation 4 Slim and even with the Pro, is back. And now they're talking about NX. And I guess Nintendo is starting a test production of the NX over at Foxconn. And this guy he did a crude drawing of what the NX looks like. And it sounds like all the features that he's talking about, it's pretty much everything that we've been speculating here over the last few months. It's going to be a hybrid portable home console device. It's going to have like a base station that you plug the portable device into, and then it turns into console mode with the controllers. But here's the interesting thing that I took from this. Like I said, the rumors seem pretty spot on. 6-inch portable display, 720p. But this portable, this docking station has a built-in battery, and it's also something you'll be taking on the go with you if you want to just use it as a portable device. It sounds like the portable device itself is similar to what Nvidia does with their Shield, where you can do stream gaming. You stream gaming to it. I should say, I can't even talk, but Nintendo is going to do it in a unique way of it's going to be a portable device. Throw it in your backpack or so, and then you have your portable screen, and you're just streaming the game from there to play it on your portable device. And then, like I said, vice versa, you can go back and turn it into a home console as well. It also sounds like they're playing around with two different socks, one from NVIDIA and another one from AMD. So, like I said, this is kind of the test production that they're doing right now, but they expect to ramp up to 10 million units by the time they get ready for launch in March. So I don't think this thing's getting delayed. Nintendo's obviously being very calculated about not showing it right now. And I guess when they do show it, they're going to make a big deal out of it. Because I guess head of Ubisoft, he also was talking about this being a unique experience from typical console gaming right now on PlayStation 4 or on Xbox. And that Nintendo, while it's not going to be the powerhouse that even a PlayStation 4 currently is right now, it's going to be unique enough that it's Nintendo doing Nintendo. They're bringing something unique to the market again. So I honestly could care less about power when it comes from Nintendo. I just want those unique gaming experiences. And if they're able to do this with the NX, I'll be there day one for sure. So I'm excited. I can't wait until they actually show this thing off and, we see Zelda running on it. And I'm sure they'll have some Mario games and hopefully some other surprises. Because I think the big thing Nintendo needs to get is a strong launch lineup, and along with a strong launch lineup, a strong launch window. So it's not like, all right, we got these 3 great games at launch and then crickets until November. They need games trickling out throughout the summer into the holiday that are going to be strong titles that people want to pick up. Not only first party, but hopefully, like I said, Ubisoft's talking about it. They get some strong third party support as well.
What is it about Nintendo that gives them license to do these crazy, wacky concepts? And
because they're the GOAT. They're the GOAT. I mean, let's again, I've said it a million times. They are the greatest video game developer in the world, right? So they make games that none of the other companies do. And I think that's what they get away with because they've created so many unique mascots over the years that there's that nostalgia thing. I mean, think about it. That little Nintendo, what is it? The NES,
the mini
thing,
mini classic.
Dude, I'm throwing money at it. Please just give it to me so I can play games that I played 30 years ago. I mean, come on, that's crazy, but I'm excited for it anyways, right?
I don't know. The more I see it, and the more I see pictures of Link up in the air with the bow and arrow, I keep thinking it's he's in Destiny, he's shooting out the bows. But
You would.
I keep thinking he's a Night Stalker class. But I'm interested to see how this whole NX console detachable controller dock concept thing is. Like, I see the potential for what it is. I don't know if that's something that I would want to walk around with, is like an extra shield and a big 6-inch controller to play video games on the go. Typically when I leave, I'm on the I'm the one driving, so it's not like it's going to be something from that I'll be able to take advantage of. I guess people who commute to work via bus or train, etc. Those that are playing that are above 18 years old, I'm assuming. I guess it would target them more so. But it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing works out. I want to see it actually. I want to see a demo, a physical demo, just so it's not just because it's written out on a napkin doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Is it still vaporware at this point?
Vaporware.
We're on the edge. We're on the edge of, I don't think I can call this vaporware because I think it's coming. I mean, Nintendo has openly been saying it's coming in March. We know Zelda's coming in March. Things are leaking all over the place at this point. Just all the speculation we've seen over the summer, is starting to come true again. Like our little mole at Foxconn is leaking that, hey, we got the specs. We're about to start building this thing. I don't think it's vaporware. It's coming. I mean, Nintendo wouldn't have put their name on it from March if they weren't confident that they were going to hit that date. So I think at this point, we should actually be excited that we've not seen it yet, because they're being very careful that they don't want the competition to know what they're doing until it's ready to go.
The reason I say it is because, like, we found out about Scorpio at E3 with alleged specs and hardware, etc. Like, we knew what the concept was.
That's vaporware.
No, I understand that, but this is still considered vaporware until we actually physically see what the device looks like. If you take it from a base concept of what vaporware is until we physically see the item and with specs, it's kind of hard to give it the checkbox of okay, it's past the vaporware test, simply because I want to say it's been like almost 600 days since Nintendo originally announced this thing, and we haven't seen, heard, or done anything with this device. And obviously, Microsoft falls under the same pretense because it's been 2.5-3 months since E3 when they announced it, and it's the same thing. Okay, yeah, we've got Scorpio coming out. It will do 4K gaming, but that's all we really know. It's got 6 teraflops of GPU power, and that's all we really know, or that's all we've been told.
But that's my point, though. I mean, obviously we joke around, oh, the Scorpion's going to be, it's vaporware until we actually see real stuff on it. But dude, it's Microsoft. I mean, they would not have come out and said the things that they've said so far if they weren't going to plan to hit it. Because look, as someone told me on Twitter, and I got to fact check this, allegedly Microsoft was losing $125 per original Xbox.
Scorpion.
He might be right, because I know there was something funky with the hard drive that it was just driving up costs because the hard drive was never lowering in price or something weird about that. I forget exactly. So he could be right, but I also don't think Microsoft wants to lose that much money anymore. And I'm confident they weren't losing that much on the 360, so I don't think they want to do that on the Scorpion either. But the point remained, if they came out and said it's going to do 6 teraflops and the 12 gigs of memory and all that stuff, it's going to do it. You know what I mean? No matter how much it costs for them to make sure that happens, because they put their name on it. And I just relate this to Nintendo. At this late stage, if NX was going to be delayed, they say something by now, because they'd look even worse if they came out in November or December. Oh, yeah, we can't make March. It's delayed. Right. So in that sense, it's not vaporware. I mean, we can joke and say it is, but I don't think it is. It's coming.
Okay.
Okay. But like I said, I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to seeing what this unique thing that they're going to do, with this console portable hybrid, really hope it works. My only fear now is if the rumor is true about the portable base station has to come with you, it better, that thing itself better be very portable as well, or what's the point? You're basically telling kids if they have an NX, they need to take a backpack or a bag with them everywhere they go to be able to use this device. It's not something, and it's not like my kids with their God, I can't even say it now. It was 3DS. they there's so many ins and X's everywhere, but they're always taking that thing in the car, and they leave it in the car when we go to school or we go to the mall or something like that. So now not only do they need to bring the portable device, and let's hope we don't lose it because they left it somewhere, so we'll see.
We know how kids are with that.
Exactly.
Oh, I left my backpack.
I know. Hey, I know how I am with that. I'd probably lose it in 5 minutes too.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
Take it out.
You're listening to Gamertag Radio.
Okay, so I think that's enough Nintendo talk. Do we want to go ahead and move into your review?
Yes, please.
All right, let's go for it.
All right, so here to talk about the Zyxel Armor Z2 wireless router. Big shout out to them for reaching out and sending me this unit. Essentially, in today's age, everybody pretty much wants more internet, more speed. 4K, we've got 4K consoles, 4K gaming. We've got the Shield that allows us to do remote play from our PCs to our TVs and have that couch experience. I fight that battle on a daily basis here at the house, especially. I've got kids playing online. I got my son and my daughter both playing Overwatch nonstop. Me and my wife watching Netflix if I'm not playing the games. And how do you ensure a solid online experience for everyone? Well, I'll take it back a little, take a few steps back just to let everybody know what I use at home. I've got an Xfinity Extreme 105 service, so essentially gives me about 100 to 125 megs down and about 20 to 25 megs up. And I use a Netgear CM400 cable modem. Prior to the review, I was using an Apple Extreme base station for my wireless and for my internet routing. But I've had that for about the last 3 years, and it's worked admirably, but it didn't provide all the bells and whistles that someone like myself or yourself, Paris, who since we're both in network, we would want. Either from a security standpoint, the Apple just didn't give me the DMZ or the port range and port triggering features and functions that I wanted, and nothing in the way of monitoring what goes on. This is no slight to Apple in any way, obviously. It's typical Apple. It just, you take it out of the box, it fires up and it works. And the reason I'm giving out the specs and everything that I have is so that you guys know what I'm working with in regards to the Armor router and my internet, and want everyone to understand that mileage will vary based on what you have in your home. Not just on your internet service, but your personal cable modems, if you guys even use cable modems, unless some people are, straight fiber in or Uverse, etc. So if you take it out of the box, the packaging looks fantastic. And, obviously that sells first and foremost. If the box looks good, it usually sells better as well. So you take it out, it's a flat black router with four antennas sticking out, so it kind of looks like the spider thing that people are selling these days. It's got LEDs in the front, 4 gigabyte Ethernet ports. I don't want to say it's got 4 gig ports. WPS for easy wireless setup, and it uses this is one of the bigger selling features for this. It uses 802.11 AC MU-MIMO. So take people back. MIMO is multiple input and multiple output, which was introduced a few years ago when everybody talked about wireless N being the new wireless protocol, which essentially allows routers to send multipaths or multiple paths of signals over to the same radio channel. So what MU-MIMO does, which is multi-user MIMO, it allows the multiple input and multiple output to go over multiple channels. So you've got multiple people being able to take advantage of the MIMO signal. So it improves network performance within the wireless spectrum of what of your house or business if you're using it there. The the router itself also features Stream Boost, which essentially automatically allocates bandwidth based on certain applications or games, similar to QoS or quality of service. So people in the network industry will hear familiarity with that term. So what QoS essentially does is you can essentially target applications and say applications will get a better experience or more priority on your network than other things. And so the way Stream Boost essentially works is it says, okay, well, you're streaming video typically in the network side gets higher precedence or higher priority on your network. So it doesn't, so other people that are doing things won't get affected, won't affect your streaming experience. So what you could do with Stream Boost is you can either assign priorities to computers or devices, or let it handle it automatically. So what I've done is I've put my Plex server and my desktop as the higher priority level, and then put my son who does gaming under his, and then everybody else goes under it. So what happens if, let's say I'm watching a 4 gig streaming movie, or I'm sorry, not 4 gig, 4K streaming video on my Shield, I'll get priority over anybody else in the house. So let's say I'm watching a movie and my son is downloading, a new game off of Steam or what have you. It's not going to start affecting my movie experience because he's downloading a file. So I really dig how it does that. It sells for $179 on Amazon, which is actually lower than a lot of the other routers or wireless routers in the market space. And I've been using it for the last 3 or 4 days. It's worked phenomenally. I've had zero issues with setup. One of the other things that I liked, because I mentioned it earlier, was monitoring. Monitoring, you don't really get a lot of that when you set up a router, so you don't have an idea as to what's going on in your network. Who's using the most. Everybody says, "Oh, I need to have 100 megs of internet at home." But when you go to use it, you're not really using 100 megs. And that's one of the things that I actually noticed while going through this router is you get to see, like, I was playing Destiny the other day and I glanced over at the screen and it barely uses any network path. So when I saw, like, for example, we were giggling about that earlier in the show, talking about how Titanfall 4K says it needs an internet minimum of 512 kbps. I was like, okay, well, in today's age, that's nothing. So looking at the monitoring screen and I see that I'm playing Destiny and I'm online in a Crucible match and it's using like 15 kbps at any one point in time. I mean, obviously there's other times where you need more, and I've seen it where it jumps up to 200, 300 kbps, but it doesn't really use a lot. It's more your latency that causes the glitching and the lag and everything. But for the most part, for the last 3 days, I've been extremely impressed with this, and for its price and for the features and options that it offers, I think it's a must-win. It's definitely something that me personally, I would highly recommend that if you're in the market for a wireless router, to go pick it up.
Yeah, I'm looking at the screenshot that you sent me the other day with the live network monitor, and just to see all your devices on the network, and it's just giving you real time information of all the bandwidth that each device is using is super handy, because it's like, especially sometimes when we're recording and over Skype and all of a sudden the audio gets choppy and you're like, what the heck is going on? What's wrong with the internet? It's like with this, I could just pop it up and be like, oh, Trey over here streaming Netflix or something. Get off Netflix while I'm recording. It's just something like that. Just even that little tiny thing is awesome. So I also know when they mentioned about us reviewing this product, they were hyping up the 4K streaming option. So was there anything that you've noticed with that?
So I was downloading a bunch of stuff yesterday for work. I download a whole bunch of ISOs for work. My son was playing Overwatch. I was watching The Get Down on Netflix, 4K. No issues, no problems whatsoever. I'm thoroughly impressed. Actually, prior to this, when I was using the Apple Extreme, there were instances where if I had, like, my son was playing games and my daughter is playing Overwatch, and I'm trying to watch TV. Sometimes it would it might lag a little, or it may not kick off or fire up as quickly as it typically did. But it didn't have any issues. I had 0 issues whatsoever.
That's awesome. That is definitely good to hear. It's really good to hear.
Yeah, and like the whole live monitoring part was it's maybe more it's because it's the network manager in me. I want to see what's doing it, but I'm looking at it. I'm actually looking at a download traffic statistics page right now, and it tells me I've used 2.8% of my bandwidth on web video. I've used, let's see, this actually says video games has been, 1 part, Instagram, 3.1% of my downloads, Netflix, Steam, video games, COD. So apparently my son was playing COD last night, 2%. Things like that I did not expect to see or know that, oh, wow, Netflix was 32% of my bandwidth over the last 24 hours.
That's not surprising at all.
But it's things like that let you know, okay, that's how things are, that's what actually uses up the bandwidth in my house. Actually to see that that Instagram was like 3% of my internet bandwidth, that's pretty crazy. But, then it also gives you, you could do a bandwidth history report. Shows it by device. So I can see, okay, who's the heavy hitters in my house? Is it me? Is it my daughter? Is it my son? If I want to do it by application, I can split that up. I can go by time to see when is the heaviest hitter during the and by day. I mean, there's so many options in here. I don't even know this. This is probably giving me more information that I actually wanted at this point, right? Because now I know exactly who's doing it. Oh, and also it gives me 3 wireless guest accounts. Like, I guess you can set up 3 different wireless guest SSIDs or networks, and you could turn it on and turn it off without affecting the entire Wi-Fi for the house, right? So I've got it, and it does the 5 gig and the 2.4% or the 2.4 gig as well. So you've got dual wireless networks for the house, but giving me the option to turn on and turn off guest Wi-Fi without affecting the rest of the house is pretty cool. So if I've got friends coming in, you can actually limit or throttle the bandwidth. So my son was like, you should make it 0 to 0 so they can't upload and download, and it forces them to use their own, so it doesn't use any of ours or any of our internet or network. But I thought that was another cool feature that typically you don't see, right? So like if you've got people like, oh, what's your guest password? You give them the guest password, they start downloading or whatever, and then everybody gets affected. But you can actually throttle them specifically and say, okay, yeah, you use this network and password, and you can give them, 256K. It's like, I guess, downloading on mobile or whatever. So there's a lot of features on this thing that I thought was really cool. Stream Boost being one of them. But yeah, I'm thoroughly impressed with this. And to be honest with you, I had heard of Zyxel in the past, and I was like, okay, they don't seem that important. They don't seem that big or seem to offer that many, features and stuff like that. But now, after having played with this for almost a week now, I'm thoroughly impressed. I really dig it.
Right on. So to wrap it up, just once again, just tell people the model number of this and where they can potentially find it.
Sure. It's Zyxel, spelled Zyxel. It's called the Armor Z2 wireless router. Right now, it's available for $189 on Amazon. Let me double check that price. Yep, $189.99. If you've got Prime, it'll be delivered in 2 days.
Nice, very nice. All right, well, thank you for that review, Pete.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
Take it out.
You're listening to Gamertag Radio.
I think it's time.
Oh,
and I ain't talking about fan mail. It is Destiny Talk Radio, Rise of Iron. Are you ready?
Oh, I've been ready. Let's go.
All right. I know that I've said it over the last few weeks, hey, I'm going to have D-John. Obviously, he didn't come on before Rise of Iron launch, but we've been emailing here in the last week or so, and I have Deej penciled in to come on the first week of October. It'll probably be that Thursday episode. He'll be on. He'll sit down with us. Matter of fact, I invited our friend Khalif from the Spawn on Me podcast to join us, Pete, to talk with Deej, because we know Danny. Yeah. Danny's like, what's Destiny? I don't know what's a raid. Yeah, help. So it'll be a lot of help when Deej comes on. But I'm excited for it because I'm looking forward to talking to him about this game. Like I said, we've been playing it now. God, what about 5 days? 5-6 days, something like that. But I have a complaint that right off the top, I'm for sure going to bring up to Deej, because I think Bungie needs to reassess how they're doing this. Putting out the raid 3 days after launch is wrong, in my opinion. And here's why. I get that you're going to have your hardcore crowd that is going to just farm for 36 hours straight until they get the light level they need to be able to jump in the raid day one and go after worlds first. The problem is you're alienating the vast majority of your audience from being able to do the same, to be able to chase world first, because they simply don't have the time to grind for 3 straight days to get to that point. You know what I mean? So it's like myself right now. I know my light level as of right now, and this is Sunday, September 25th, is 357. And, I was traveling during the week. I just didn't have the time to really invest. You know what I mean? I would have loved, because I even had a group that approached me that was like, hey, you want to try and do worlds first? I would have loved to, but I simply didn't have my light level ready to go on Friday to try it. So I've not played the raid yet. And I think the event should be about worlds first. It shouldn't be about who can grind the quickest and blow through all the content to get their light level up to attempt the worlds first. Because that's the thing. If you sit here and grind for 3 days, you're not experiencing the game I'm sure Bungie intended it, right? So you're just blowing through story content. You're just grinding strikes over and over. You're finding every little trick and cheat to get your light level to where they want it, to where it needs to be, so that you can do that raid. And I think you lose out on that experience of Destiny because of that. And because you've done that, you're now going to, in a month from now, complain that there's nothing left to do, right? So in my opinion, this is just me, I think the compromise should have been not the Friday, that 3 days later, that Friday. I think they should have put it the Friday after that. So they should have given people just a little bit over a week to play the game, do it at a reasonable pace, and get to that light level, and then do the raid. Of course, there's going to be crazy people that will grind that entire time, and their light level is going to be way overinflated. And maybe that's what Bungie's thinking, that if we give people too much time, they're going to get their light level so high that they're just going to blow through this raid anyways. Because I don't know if you saw, Pete, Worlds First, they did it in like a little over 2 hours.
Yeah. That's insane. That's sometimes it takes us just 2 hours just to get a regular on Taken King.
Hey, just to get in the front door, it takes 2 hours. but that would be my only complaint. I mean, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to bring up before we just go into our overall thoughts.
No, I would agree with you on that one. I mean, I've put considerable hours in this game over the last week, and I'm just at 349, 348 as of last night. And I don't think I've put in as much time as I typically would have, but it's still 3 to 4 hours a day for the last 4 or 5 days. I've got, a coworker who's put in some considerable time, and he's at 360, but he took 2 days off to be able to do something like that, So I think I would agree with you. It gives people more time to play and appreciate the game, as opposed to just, level boosting just to get enough just to do the raid. I think they may have lost some of the love or some of the appreciation for some of the other things in the game, because they're just so focused on trying to level up that they're not, maybe exploring or doing, some of the other things that make Destiny such a fun game.
Yeah, agreed. Because it's like I was listening to IGN's Destiny podcast. Was it Fire? I forget the exact name, but it was Destin. It was those guys. Destin, he got with the Planet Destiny guys, and he did Worlds First. So he actually recorded it before they did the raid on Friday, and they literally spent the entire episode talking about how to farm Omnigul to get their light level up. That's what the whole podcast was basically about, right? And it's like I'm listening, and my son was listening as well. And that's what made me think about this. It was like, this is ridiculous. You know, you shouldn't have to basically cheat the game to get your light level to a certain point to be able to do this. I shouldn't have to do that farming technique on Omnigul so I can just spam it over and over so I can get a bunch of loot drops. So, I can obviously infuse and get my light level up so I can tackle this raid. I should be able to just play the game do the story, play strikes, do the quests, play some Crucible, and by then I should be in range to be able to tackle that raid, not the extreme things that people had to go through to be able to get to that. That's just not how a video game should be experienced. But with that said, I'm absolutely loving Rise of Iron. I mean, again, I'm self-admitted Destiny fanboy. I make no apologies about that. So I feel like as we're entering year 3 now with Destiny, Bungie is getting ever so close to perfecting the way that we progress through the game, right? And the trickle of content with the quests and all the exotics you can get. And I love Supremacy, on PvP. Mm-hmm. My son and I were playing the heck out of that yesterday. So it's a perfect game yet? No, but it's getting close. I look at it this way. I was saying this on Twitter. This game's been out 2 years now. With all the complaints, all the issues that it has had, I was still there at 2 a.m. Tuesday morning to be able to try and play this game right away, which I couldn't because there were so many people hitting the servers. It took down the Destiny servers. So I had to wait about, I don't know, what was that, 2 a.m.? Mm-hmm. I think I got in at about 3:30 is when I got in. I got to do the first mission and I had to hop on a plane and leave, to go to San Francisco. But the point is, the game still holds up. It still has that. So there's been so many people. I'm done with Destiny. I'm forever. I'm looking at Twitter. I'm looking at my friends list on PlayStation. Oh, I see what you're doing. I see you. You back.
Hey, I raised my hand. Guilty as charged. I was, and I think I mentioned this to Deez when we spoke to him at E3. Hey, I was a lost guardian. I stepped away and I was like, I'm done. I don't think I want to do this anymore. And then, I threw the wallet. I've put in. As of Thursday, I've got 89 hours on Destiny on PlayStation 4 alone. Granted, has nothing to do with the 800 plus hours on Xbox, but it's been fun getting back into the whole game of this. There's a few things that still kind of, like you said, I guess it's your little bother. Sometimes you can't tell whether it's just a reskin of the existing environments. Like if you Plaguelands, obviously you could tell it's new because it's places that we haven't experienced. But other places like the Cosmodrome, where it's essentially they just threw snow on top of it, looks and feels the same. I don't know how I feel about how the SIVA virus has infected and is essentially just the same enemies with red paint on them or red armor, right? So I'm still kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. I wish they could have brought it in or put in a new type of character as opposed to just rehashing the existing one. But I do like it overall. Some of the things like skeleton keys, I think they're interesting. So you're not always guaranteed really good loot, but it encourages you to continue playing and hope to get more skeleton keys so you can keep doing the strikes, and gives people who don't like to do multiplayer a lot more opportunity to get bigger, better loot. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what games like this are. It's a loot grind, and typically people would do strikes and it would limit them more or less as to how much better their stuff would be or how much they could level up based on what they get. But I think that introducing a concept like skeleton keys makes things a little bit, more enticing to jump into the play.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean is I think they're getting ever so close to hitting that sweet spot for progression, because the skeleton keys is a great example of that. Skeleton keys they're not just raining keys, so you're not just getting a bounty full of them, but you get them enough that if you're chasing a strike specific loot, all right, I'm gonna go do this strike, and at the end of this strike, if I have a key, I can get this weapon. So, for example, Devil's Dawn, I got a skeleton key, and I got that to drop from the new Sepix strike. So I got the Devil's Dawn sniper. Freaking love it. It is already replaced my 1,000-yard stare as my PvP sniper. So thing hits like a truck. I never went after Grasp of Malik or however you say it. So I got another skeleton key, and I went to Omnigul, and I got it. So I have it now because I just didn't want to do that ridiculous farming thing that people were doing during the Taken King, and it never just dropped for me naturally. But now I know with a skeleton key, my odds of getting it were way up. So that was something specific that I could chase. So by them doing that, by them giving us now more avenues other than just the raid to get our light level up for, because, look, statistics, I can't even say it. Stats show a lot of people don't do the raid. A lot of people are intimidated by it. They can't get the 6 people together to do it, etc. They don't want to go to LFG. So, there is a minority that raids. So that was a big limit that people was like, hey, I can't get the max light unless I just do this raid over and over. Not everyone wants to do that. So by doing that now, Prison of Elders packages still, you can get your light level up. Obviously, when Iron Banner returns, that's going to be another avenue that people can do. Archon's Forge, which, hey, needs a little work. I'm just saying that has potential to be fantastic. But like even last night, I was running it with Khalif and Uridium, and we got some great matches going, and then it was crickets because none of us had the Siva offering, and you can't carry multiple Siva offerings. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, Khalif's had a perfected Siva offering, and it got wasted because we only had 4 people. We just like, screw it, let's try it with 4 people, and we almost got the boss down, but we didn't. So he lost it, and we didn't have another one. Luckily, someone else had a perfected one, and we did it later with 6 people. But the point is, when the offerings are gone, you could have 6 people just sitting around staring at each other. There's no way to be able to play that list. You have to go back out and farm in the plague lands again. So hopefully, plus I think the loot, it's kind of stingy on the loot as well.
Actually,
I need to
I have to disagree with you. And let's go back and explain what a Siva offering is. So in a part of the game, there's a thing called the Archon's Forge. And in the Archon's Forge, it's essentially the Rise of Iron version of the Court of Oryx. Now, the reason I like the Archon's Forge better is because it actually drops things for other people in the game that are with you. So as you start putting in Siva offerings, and what you do is essentially it's at the top of the top of this mountain or whatever. It's an enclosed game space where it's essentially horde mode for Destiny at the end of the day, because it's you and however many people are in the room, and it's just fighting a nonstop wave of increasingly difficult enemies. And at the end is when the quote unquote big boss comes in, and if you guys can defeat him, you get a drop. Typically what I've been seeing is a lot of artifact, or not, what is it? The capes for hunters, butt wipes for titans, and what is I forgot what I think it's the brand or whatever for the warlocks. So there's 3 or 4 different types. There's the fused one, like you said. There's the perfected one, which is the ultimate, as the highest level one that you can get. And I think there's an enhanced Siva offering. And what you do is you feed them into this machine, and it unlocks these people, and you come out, and then that's when the big hammers come out that you can use to battle the people on the outside. But I've noticed that I've gotten pretty decent drops on there, but a lot of the times, unless everybody in there is playing together or understand the mechanics of the game, it kind of makes it more difficult. I don't know. Is it considered spoiler alert if you talk about how to, a strategy or what you've noticed?
No, go for it.
Okay, so when you're doing the Archon's Forge, what happens is after a series of boss battles, it unlocks this one little space where you get the big Rise of Iron hammer that you can use in battle. What I've noticed is a lot of people will run to grab that, and they'll come back and they'll actually try to use that against the boss. But what they don't realize is when they hit the boss, it pops them in the air, and you can't do any damage to him because he's up in the air. And so people keep hitting him with the hammers, thinking they're doing more damage, but all they're doing is popping them in the air and making it more difficult for everybody else to put damage or DPS on the boss, and then you lose out. Right? So That's one little tip. So if you guys see that, try not to use the big hammer on it. Try to use your heavy weapons or your specials or whatever have, and try to put that type of DPS as opposed to trying to use the hammers, or use the hammers against the ads and then focus on the rest of the stuff. But that's one little tip and trick that I've noticed that comes in handy when going up against those bosses in the Archon's Forge.
Now I got to go back because you've actually never justified yourself on why you cut me off. So I think Archon's Forge is stingy because, and I'm gonna give you a reason why. I've put in Siva offerings because here's where Court of Oryx got it right, and here's where I think this gets it wrong. I'm the one that does the Siva offering. We complete the thing. I get nothing, not even a blue engram, nothing. You know, we did the perfected, which you think, all right, this is the ultimate one. No one got anything. It's things like that. It's like you need to at least give some incentive that, hey, if I do this, I'm guaranteed to at least get this tier reward.
But if you didn't defeat the perfected one, you shouldn't get anything.
No. We did. I'm saying we did beat one later, and we got nothing. That's my point. I've done Siva offerings and I've got nothing. The best thing that I've gotten so far out of that, and I know there's weapons and things that do drop. Best thing I got was one Warlock bond. I think I got it at 361, which was cool, you know. But it like Court of Oryx, even if you weren't getting the best of the best stuff, it was at least raining engrams for everybody. You know what I mean? When you defeated whatever that objective was. Whereas I think Archon's Forge, like I said, I think it's just a little bit stingy, but you disagreed. So I'm very curious to hear why you disagree.
Just because you're saying it doesn't rain engrams, but for me, and maybe I've got the RNG's touch right for this week, but I've got, obviously the game drops greens and blues all day. So I don't think that's the concern. I think maybe your concern is if it drops purples and yellows.
Nah, man, I wouldn't even get blues. That's my point.
Oh, I don't know, because for me, it's just, I run around and I just try to, while we're playing, I'll wait until the end of the round and then I'll pick up as many things as I can. And then I'll just dust greens and whatever blues I get. I leave them there because I know I'm going to get them back in the postmaster after the game anyways. So I try not to run around and pick those things up, but yeah, it does nothing but drop things for us. So maybe it's just different experiences, and maybe that's just how the system works, where, you know, it rotates.
Yeah, but then and I get that, because even in the scenario with the skeleton keys, I got Devil's Dawn first shot, right? And you still don't have it.
I can't even sniff it because I haven't gotten it at all. So, have you gotten any of the ornament stuff?
I got one for Truth.
Okay.
And that's the only ornament that I've gotten so far, which brings up another thing, that silver dust economy. I don't know if you saw it with Xur. Whew, it's very expensive. Yeah. So I don't know if that's something that they purposely want to keep expensive to try and I don't agree with this, to try and push people towards Eververse. Like, oh, well, I'll just throw some money at it so I can get it because I got to have this ornament, so I need the silver dust. I don't know. See, I feel like that's something you tweak too.
But that doesn't affect the gameplay. All it is
no, it doesn't. It does not, and that's the point.
That's why I don't mind them doing things like this. It doesn't make them any better in Crucible. It doesn't make them any better or raise their light level. All it is a purely cosmetic thing. And if you've got a wallet warrior out there who wants to spend $30, $40, $50, $100 to make his guardian and his guns and his weapons and his armor look beautiful, so go be it. Go throw your wallet at it and you look like the most amazing and beautiful guardian in the universe. But as long as it doesn't affect the physical actual gameplay, as long as it doesn't make them any better in the Crucible or any better in a PvE or a Strike or whatever, by all means do it. And those are the things that actually help fund Sparrow Racing League, or the 2-on-2, Valentine's Day things like that. As long as those don't take away from the core gameplay and allow Bungie to make money to support things like Sparrow Racing League, whether you support it or not, whether you play in the Sparrow Racing League or do any of that stuff, that's by all means go for it. I don't see anything bad in that.
Yeah, no, agreed. And let's be clear here. When it comes to just the core gameplay mechanics, which is why I keep coming back, Bungie is still the best in the business when it just comes to pure a shooter. You know what I mean? That's the secret sauce behind Bungie that I think keeps people doing the same strikes over and over, doing the quests and doing the raids, is because the shooting mechanics and just the weapons and the fact that they're constantly tweaking them is so freaking good. You know, I'll even throw in, and I've talked about this many times, the fact that my son plays. It's been something that's brought us closer together because we play it all the time. And you've been in the chats with us and everything. He's freaking hilarious because he's busting my chops constantly.
Yep. All day long.
And
that's one of the reasons why I jump in so quickly, is just to hear him rag on you.
yeah. You know, hey, look, I'm sitting there. I'm a passenger on the struggle bus, and he's sitting there yelling at me. You know, it's like, come on. So it's like, you know, but that's just father son stuff. But the community overall. Like, I'll bring up this story real quick, and I'll shut up. So the Nightfall is kind of brutal this week, just with arc burn and the trickle and just everything, right? It's kind of brutal. It's the new strike of the Wretched Eye. So we decided with my son and Khalif, we tackled it. We were still low light. We were like, I think barely 350, right? And we got to the boss and we struggled. We decided, you know what, let's tap out, let's get our light level up, and we'll come back to it. Well, we all disbanded and we're doing other things. Well, I joined the Guardian 1 clan, and some of my clanmates, they hit me up and they were like, hey, do you want to run the Nightfall? And I was like, sure. I go, I'm low light. They were like, oh, we're low light too. Screw it. Let's just figure it out. So, you know, we hopped on a struggle bus, drove it right on into that strike, and eventually we figured out and got it. But to me, like, I bring that up as a point. This wasn't my son. This wasn't you. These were two people that I literally just met because I joined this clan. And we had an experience together, and we decided to keep playing afterwards. And we're talking on social media, the whole thing. It's like I met new people to game with through the clan, through this game, you know, and it'll go beyond just Destiny. It could be Titanfall 2 next week or something like that. You know what I mean? So to me, that's why I love playing this game so much. It's just the community aspect. And that's why I want Deej to come on, because I really want to talk about just the whole community stuff, because that's one thing with Deej, and I think people need to understand. Deej doesn't make the game. He's the community manager. His job is to talk to the community, hear our gripes, hear what we like about the game, and take that back to the development team so they can make the game better. Right. So that's why I love to talk to him more about the community side of it than the game, because like, I do want to bring up the raid thing to him, because I think that's feedback that needs to go back to the dev team, you know, for the future. But to complain to him about, oh, well, you nerfed this gun.
He's not going to answer that.
Do anything. He can't answer that. And he's not really going to do anything about that. Whatever they put on in their patch notes, that's why they did it. You know what I mean? So, but getting off track a little bit. So just going back to the whole community thing of it, it's like there's just been so many great people that I've met in these 2 years playing this game, you know, that, yeah, I'm on the hype train for it for the 10 years, because I just think we need to see more games like this that are bringing the community together, and we're not all just running off to our little corners of the universe, because it is kind of just this open social game that kind of is promoting people to play together. Like, look at the new public event stuff that they're doing in the Plaguelands, not just Archon's Forge, but some of that other stuff. When you go in that big open area with the white circle, you know, I know this is the first week of the game, but it's just so awesome to see so many other Guardians jumping in, helping each other out. You know what I mean? It's, dude, like I said, I freaking love it. I do realize that Rise of Iron, you know, is a half measure. It's a stopgap, because Destiny 2 should have been out right now, but they delayed it, you know, to make that game better. But I think in the short time with what they had to work with, I'm digging it. And I've not even done the raid yet. I think by the time by the time we have Deej on, both of us, I'm sure we'll have done the raid at that point. But I
hope so. If I'm going to do it here. I'm still at 347, 348.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm at 357 now. I think 365 is a sweet spot from what I'm hearing. Yeah, I can get to 365, then I should be high enough level by the time we get to the final boss to not have issues. And I peaked for 2 minutes. I watched Guardian 1. I watched those guys doing the raid for like 2 minutes. I saw them being chased by something. I was like, I'm out. I don't need to know nothing else. I want to do it as blind as possible. So yeah, it's for $30. I feel like it's worth it for sure.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? I would just caution people out there right now, pace yourself. Don't feel the need to rush through this game to get to a certain light to do something. Because think about this, that raid is going to be around for a year. There's still hard mode raid to come. There's going to be other things. There's going to be secret Black Spindle type quests that are going to come out eventually in this. You know what I mean? So don't feel like you need to rush through the game in 3 days like a lot of people did just to say, hey, I played the raid on day one. That's just my 2 cents.
Sounds good. So
any last things you want to add to that? We'll move on.
I don't know. I'm sure we could sit here and just wax nostalgic about this game for the next 30, 45 minutes, but I think Danny's going to be hating part of this editing process when he hears just us talking about Destiny all this time.
No, I agree. And I know we got fan mail. So you know what? Let's just go into that. Danny, play the intro.
Fan mail at gamertagradio.com.
Pete, that's when you go fan mail.
Fan mail.
Okay, so I know we got a couple emails and I know we got a couple voicemails. I know we're running out of time here, so I don't know if we want to limit this. You know what? I do want to bring this up. This is another email from our friend Mario because I was bringing up a little joke email that he sent last week. I'll just read this one because we're actually going back and forth in email about this. So I'll read it really quick. He says, "Hey Paris, so the Xbox One S UHD Blu-ray player is garbage? ? Just like that. Do you own one? Have you seen it in action yourself? Please expand on this as I was considering trading in my fat ultra large Xbox One microwave for an Xbox One S. I'm sure that some folks at Xbox like Greenberg, Pinello, and your bar listen to the show and would love to send you a review copy. I highly doubt that, to give your detailed review and analysis so they can make it better. They ain't sending me no review Xbox One S. Danny has one, but he doesn't have 4K TV. Wait, you're getting one, aren't you, Pete?
What, Xbox One S?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't turned mine on in months, dude. I haven't turned mine on in like 3 months, so I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. All right, fair enough. I'll finish reading this, though. And then Mario goes on and says, I think you did the same with the Xbox One when it first came out, and you shared some of your gripes and wishes with Albert Pinello, and they implemented your suggestion to have the option for Xbox One to boot directly to TV. Yeah, crazy enough, and I thought they were full of it when they said it, but Aaron Greenberg confirmed that was true when I brought that up. That was one of the direct reasons why they did that. So that was pretty cool of them. Hopefully we'll get Aaron and Albert on here again really soon so we can talk more about Xbox. But I'm moving on. He says, yes, when I take jabs and poke fun at you, it's all in the name of fun from one old cheapskate to another. And yes, I'm originally from Italy, but I lived in South Carolina most of my life now, and I'm a proud American. By the way, I pre-ordered a deal you mentioned on a previous show. Best Buy had the new PS4 bundled with the Platinum headsets. They canceled the pre-order. That bundle was a screw-up on Best Buy's part. They were $160 headsets. I was bummed when they canceled. Please let me know if you hear of any other bundle deals like that. Maybe it could be a new 1-minute segment of your show where every week or every other week you announce some really good deals going on. You could call it Cheapskate Deals of the Week. You guys do an awesome job. Congrats on episode 600. So Mario, thanks. So going back to his original point, we kind of traded back and forth in email, and I do not have hands-on with that Blu-ray player. No, I do not. I'm literally going by reading thoughts and impressions from people on the AVS forum because they're like the high end of when it comes to being video files and audio files. And I take their opinions very seriously. For a lot of people on there, I'm part of that community as well. So a lot of people were talking about that. And I also know someone that does have an Xbox One S and is invested into getting 4K Blu-ray. And he mentioned directly that some of the movies that he played, like Deadpool, for example, kind of froze up in spots. The menus were very sluggish, etc. And these were kind of the sentiments that I saw on the AVS forum as well. So I mentioned that to him. That's where I got my opinion. When I said garbage, again, that was theater. I was just, just joking around. But it's not a high-end 4K Blu-ray player was the point that I was trying to make. I mean, it is entry level, which is the point. So it's $299 for an Xbox One S. You get what you pay for, etc. So we went on back and forth. And to be clear, I do think the PlayStation 4 Pro needs a 4K Blu-ray player. I do think there's a segment of the market that will be chasing 4K Blu-rays, that physical media. My point to Mario was that percentage of the market is minuscule compared to the market that plays 1080p Blu-ray players or would even want a 4K Blu-ray player moving forward as physical media is starting to die, as 4K streaming is starting to become more relevant, especially with Netflix and Amazon, even Vudu is doing as well. And he brought up the point that broadband just simply isn't high enough yet in the United States. I do agree it's going to take time. I think, and this is my opinion, I think Sony decided the percentage of people that actually care about 4K Blu-ray is small compared to the people that will just be streaming media in the future. So they decided, why are we wasting the money on this? We're just going to leave it out. Yeah, there'll be some people that complain about it, but the overwhelming majority simply won't care. You know what I mean? And I think that lives today on the Xbox One S. Sure, it's a nice feature to have. It's a check mark for marketing. But and I think the example I used was this. If 1 million people have an Xbox One S, right? Let's just use that as a round number. 1 million people have an Xbox One S. I bet you less than 50,000 people actually get a 4K Blu-ray on that. That's just me. And I could be way off. I'll even be more generous and say 100,000. Let's say 100,000 out of 1 million people actually take advantage of that 4K Blu-ray
10%.
Player on a regular basis.
10% at the end of the day. I mean, it's at the end of the,
is that worth it? Is my point.
Maybe not. I mean, but it's they're just holding on to the niche because at the end of the day, it's still in its infancy as to whether it's going to be around long term, and it likely will because Sony is just that big of a studio as it's in its on its own round. But one of the things that the Blu-ray player, the physical drive itself, is it doesn't support the Dolby Atmos audio. And I think that it's not just that, but I think from what I've seen, it's also suffering from some light bleed issues and some, like you mentioned earlier, a couple of stutter things. And the problem is there's not that many 4K Blu-ray players out on the market today. And if it's something that a consumer really wants, this is a great entry level model to get you into that space to see if this is something that you actually want to do, as opposed to having to go to spend $600-700 on a dedicated ultra, UHD Blu-ray player. It's, what was it? I think it was the PlayStation 4 did it before, the PlayStation 3 did it before. It was the Blu-ray player was actually one of the higher performing ones, but at the end of the day, it's a Sony product. So of course they're not going to put a crappy Blu-ray player into their PlayStation. So I would take it, with a grain of salt and understand that, hey, this is still early on in 4K Blu-ray players being out in the market. Take that into consideration when you're going to go out and purchase something like this. But for what it is, and for $299, you're getting a Blu-ray player as well as a 4K streaming device, as well as a video game device. Can't hurt. And plus, for $299,
no, it can't.
It's a great deal.
It absolutely can't. Like I said, I think Sony made a mistake by not putting it in. But the point that I had been making the last few weeks, and like I was even saying to Mario, is I understand their strategy. You know what I mean? They're betting that, look, physical media is going away. We don't want to invest the R&D and the money because, like you just mentioned, if Sony's going to put a Blu-ray player or 4K Blu-ray player in their product, it's going to be a higher end one. They're not going to just give you an entry level one because we know that the PlayStation 3 was a Trojan horse to get people into Blu-ray, right? My point is, I don't think 4K Blu-ray is going to become the new DVD. Whereas Blu-ray took over for DVD and that became the standard. I don't see 4K Blu-ray being the standard. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a niche market, like you mentioned, and it sounds to me like Sony just doesn't want to invest in that. Again, that's why I really want to get Albert Pinello on this podcast again. I really do, because I'm going to ask him directly, will they be a 4K Blu-ray player in the Scorpion? It's just straight up. It's a yes or no thing. I'm sure they'll all get marketing speak, but I'll ask it anyways. You know what I mean? Because if Microsoft continues to invest in it with the Scorpion, maybe we reassess a year from now, but we'll see. I'm pretty sure they will put one in there. But if they're going to put one in there, it doesn't need to be an entry level player. It needs to be something that can take advantage of all the bells and whistles. It needs to take advantage of all the audio formats. We can't be having all these menu stuttering issues, etc. It needs to be a device that people on the AVS forum are talking about. Well, instead of me buying the brand new Samsung 4K Blu-ray player, I'm just going to get a Scorpion because that is a high end Blu-ray device. Because again, you have to understand, not everyone plays video games. Some people get these things to be their media center. You know what I mean? So the question has to be asked: are they going to go niche with it, or are they going to try and just be consumer friendly? We'll see. Like, again, it's a we'll see thing. Obviously, Sony's not going to do it. You know, they've made that crystal clear. They're not going with that. They're like, look, if you want a Sony device to play your 4K Blu-rays, go buy an external player. We're not going to put it in our consoles anymore.
Agreed.
Yep. So I know we're going long. So we had a few voicemails. Maybe we'll go ahead and play those next week. But keep sending us your feedback. We really appreciate it. I'll give that plug one more time.
Send us your feedback or questions. Give us a call at 786-273-7GTR. Email us at fanmail@gamertagradio.com or leave a message on speakpipe.com/gamertagradio.
All of us are active on Twitter. Our verified account is at Gamertag Radio, so hit us up on Twitter as well. And we have a Facebook page at Gamertag. It was Gamertag Radio, right? /Gamertag Radio. Yep, exactly. So, Pete, any last thing before we get out of here?
Rest in peace, Battle.net.
What happened?
Blizzard, they're shutting it down.
I did not know that. Look, I've been in the plague lands.
Yeah. After 20 years of being around, Blizzard this week finally announced that it's getting rid of Battle.net. It's just the name, not the service. So don't be concerned. Those of you like, my fellow Overwatchians, the system will continue to live. It's just going to be rebranded as Blizzard Tech as opposed to Battle.net. I think the actual quote was, when we created Battle.net, the idea of including a tailored online gaming service together with your game was more of a novel concept. So we put a lot of focus on explaining what the service was and how it worked. So it's true, they don't really need a formal name for it, but it's just something that I think from a gaming perspective, it may just be a little nostalgia because it's been around for so long. It's been an integral part of Blizzard's gaming service on PC. So it's not 100% dead. They're just changing the name. But yeah, Battle.net, rest in peace.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Pete. And I'm sure Danny is going insane right now since we're going over. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. This has been episode 601 of Gamertag Radio. I'm Paris. That is Pete. Danny will be back next episode. We'll see you guys on 602.
Thanks for listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.